Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to EduSite Live Lectures. Dear friends, today in microeconomics we will be talking about dynamic changes and industry equilibrium in perfect competition as well as equilibrium of firms under monopoly. To discuss this topic we have with us our subject expert Professor Kamlesh Kakkad. Professor Kakkad is Senior Professor in Department of Economics in Institute of Management Studies and Research in MDU Rohtak. Professor Kakkad is Gold Medalist in BA Economics Honours as well as MA from Punjab University, Chandigarh. She has written several articles and a book on economics in various national and international journals. She has 36 years of teaching experience. Without further ado, I would like to welcome ma'am to our studios and request her to start the lecture. Welcome ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Amrit. Dear viewers, today we will discuss about how the dynamic changes lead to change in the industry equilibrium under perfect competition. We have already done about the price determination and equilibrium of firm and industry under perfect competition. And in this lecture, I will tell you about the predictions of perfect competition model in case of a shift in the costs resulting from the changes in factor prices and imposition of a tax by the government. Whenever there is a change in the cost, there will be definitely change in the average cost and to some extent equilibrium will be changed. But all this depends upon what type of the cost has changed. So firstly we will discuss about what happens when there is an increase in the fixed cost. If the rents of the buildings, offices occupied by the firm are increased, it will lead to an upward shift in both the average fixed cost and average total cost. However, the average variable cost and marginal cost curves are not affected because rents are an element of fixed cost. This is shown in figure 1. In the right hand side diagram, we have shown the equilibrium of the industry. We have shown price on y-axis and demand and supply on x-axis. And first equilibrium is at E where demand curve DD and supply curve SS are intersecting at E and OP is the price, and this price becomes AR is equal to MR for the firm. This is shown in the left hand side diagram where we have shown AR is equal to MR. We have drawn SATC, AVC, AFC and marginal cost. So MC is cutting MR at E and a firm is producing ON units of the output, and here it is getting the normal profits. Now when the fixed cost rises, this AFC shifts to AFC 1 and short run average cost curve also shifts upward. From SATC it becomes SATC 1, but marginal cost does not change because marginal cost is not affected by the fixed cost. So the equilibrium will not be changed, it will be at the same point E. So what you see here, that equilibrium output of a firm remains same in the short run. But so far as the long run is concerned and you find that short run average cost rises, so the firm may not be getting the normal profits and it will suffer losses. So some firms would leave the industry, leading to shift in the supply curve to the left. Now the new supply curve is S1 which is to the left of the earlier supply curve, and the new price is OP1. So here you find that price has increased and total output supplied in the industry has fallen, as well as the number of firms would be less because some firms would have left the industry because of the losses. So this was the effect of fixed cost on the equilibrium price and output in the industry as well as the firm. Now we will talk of increase in the variable cost. If the market wages rise or if there is increase in the cost of raw material, this means there will be increase in the variable cost, and how it is going to affect the price and output determination is shown in figure 2. Again we have taken the industry on right side and on the left side we have taken the firm. On the right side we see the earlier demand curve DD and supply curve SS are intersecting at E and price determined is OP. So this price becomes is equal to AR is equal to MR, and here we see that SMC is cutting at E. So the firm's output is ON. Now if there is increase in the variable cost, SMC will shift to the left. It becomes SMC1. Now the equilibrium is at E1 and the output has also decreased to ON1 because of the increase in the cost of production. So what you see here, that price has increased and the output has fallen. And in this case also, so far as long run is concerned, if before the long run the firm is getting only normal profits. So when the variable cost rises, the firm may not be able to cover its normal profits, there may be losses, so some firms would leave the industry. So there will be fall in the supply curve and this supply curve will shift to S1 and here the new price is OP1. So what you see here, that output has decreased and price has increased because of the increase in variable cost. Now we will see what is the effect of imposition of a tax. You know, the government imposes different types of taxes on the firms to collect revenue. We will talk of the three types of taxes: lump sum tax, profit tax and specific tax. So firstly we are going to do what happens when the lump sum tax is imposed. This tax is per period, and this lump sum tax is like supposing there is increase in the licensing fees. So it is also like the increase in fixed cost. Therefore its impact on equilibrium price and output will also be similar, as we have already explained in the case of rise in fixed cost as we have shown in figure 1. Thus it can be said that in the short run lump sum tax will not affect marginal cost curve and the firm will continue to produce the same output as before the imposition of the tax. However, if the firm happens to earn only normal profits prior to the tax, it will not be able to cover its average total cost at the going market price and will close down in the long run. Thus, in the long run, the market supply curve will shift to the left as some firms leave the industry, and the output will be lower and the price will be higher in comparison to the pre-tax equilibrium. So we have seen that in case of lump sum tax, in the long run there will be lower output and higher price. Now we see what happens when there is a imposition of profit tax, that taxes are imposed on the profits. Tax is generally in the form of percentage of net profits of the firm. The effect of profit tax is also similar to that of a lump sum tax. The profit tax will reduce the profits of a firm, but it is not going to affect the marginal cost. Hence, in the short run, the equilibrium of the firm and industry will not change. But in the long run, there will be definitely exit of some firms which were getting just normal profits before the imposition of such taxes. Thus, in the long run, the supply in the market will fall due to shift in the supply curve to the left. New equilibrium price will be reached with a higher price and lower quantity of output and a smaller number of firms. Now we will see what happens when a specific sales tax is imposed. We know the specific sales tax is for per unit of output. Then naturally, with the increase in output, this tax will go on increasing. So, this is definitely going to affect the marginal cost of production. Marginal cost curve, being the supply curve of the firm, will shift upwards to the left and the amount produced at the prevailing price will be decreased. The market supply curve in this situation will shift upward to the left and price will rise. Now actually we have to see that what would happen to the incidence of taxation. Whenever such tax is imposed, the whole burden generally does not fall on the seller. It is shifted to the buyer by the increase in price. But the question is, what will be the amount of rise in price? Whether it will be equal to the tax imposed, or it will be less than the amount of the tax imposed, or greater than that. So, it depends upon the elasticity of supply given the demand conditions. So, now we will see, whenever there is imposition of a specific tax, what is the increase in the price of the commodity and how much burden is on the buyer and how much burden is being done or borne by the firm itself. And you should know that higher the price elasticity of supply, higher will be the burden on buyer. And if the supply is less elastic, then naturally the burden may be more on the seller. So, actually it is mainly the function of the price elasticity of supply being the demand elasticity already there, that is whatever is that is given. Now, if the price elasticity of supply is less than 1, and this is shown in figure 3. On x axis we have taken the demand for and supply of the commodity, and on y axis we have shown the price of the commodity. DD is the demand curve and SS is the original supply curve. And due to the imposition of tax, supply curve will shift to the left. Shifting of the supply curve means that the cost per unit has increased because of the increase in the specific tax. Now, you see that the first equilibrium was at B and price is equal to OP. Now, the original demand curve and new supply curve S1 are cutting at C. So, the new equilibrium price is OP1. You see here that it is greater than the original price OP, but we have to see that the increase in price tells us the burden which is borne by the buyer. You see here that the tax imposed is AB, while the rise in price is PP1, and it is clear from the diagram that it is less than the half of AB. This means more burden is on the firm and less burden is on the buyer. So, this was the case when the price elasticity of supply is less. Now, in figure 4, we have shown that price elasticity of supply is more than 1, or you can say it is more than what we have shown in figure 3. Elasticity of supply here is greater. Now again in figure 4, what do you see? That we have taken demand and supply on x-axis, price is shown on y-axis. Original demand curve DD and supply curve SS are intersecting at point B, where price determined is OP. This is the equilibrium price, and this price is charged by all the firms in the industry. Now due to the specific tax, this supply curve shifts to the left. Now at the same price, firms are willing to sell less because of the increase in cost of production. So the new supply curve S1 and the original demand curve DD are intersecting now at C. Now what do you see here? That the new price is OP1, which is greater than OP, and remember that tax is always the vertical distance between the two supply curves. Here you can see that AB is the specific tax per unit. So now the tax is AB, but the shifting of the burden on buyer is PP1. Here you see that the burden is more on the buyer and less on the seller because of the elasticity of supply being greater than 1, as well as it is greater than what we have shown in figure 3. Now we come to the case when the market supply is perfectly elastic. This means firm can increase or decrease the supply up to any extent. This has been shown in figure 5. On x-axis we have shown demand and supply, and on y-axis we have shown the price of the commodity. DD is the original demand curve and PS is the first supply curve parallel to x-axis. This shows the price elasticity of supply to be infinite. And what you see here, that they are supply and demand curve are intersecting at point B, and price determined is OP, and quantity demanded and supplied is OM. Now because of the imposition of the specific tax per unit, supply curve shifts to P1S1. Again this is parallel to x-axis. Now the new supply curve is intersecting the original demand curve at this point, and price has increased to OP1. The increase in price is PP1 and the tax per unit is AB. Just as I have told you that tax per unit is always the difference between the supply curves and it is the vertical distance. So AB is the tax per unit and PP1 is the increase in price. And you see here that the increase in price is the same as the increase in tax or the tax imposed. So what you can say, that here the whole burden of the tax is passed on to the buyer. We have seen that in certain cases whatever the tax is imposed, the seller increases the price of the commodity by the same amount, and naturally the buyers are to pay the whole of the tax amount. So but this is the case where the elasticity of supply is infinite. And another case is that when the supply curve has a negative slope, and we have discussed in many lectures that the supply curve has a negative slope. It can be in the long run when there is decreasing cost conditions that with the increase in the scale of production, the firm gets economies of scale, and these economies of scale are greater than the diseconomies. So that leads to fall in the per unit cost of production. So in that case, the supply curve is downward sloping, and this we have shown in figure 6. In figure 6, demand and supply are on x-axis and price is shown on the y-axis. Now DD is the original demand curve and SS is the original supply curve, and they are intersecting at point B, and the first price determined is OP and quantity demanded and supplied is OM. Now with the imposition of specific sales tax, this supply curve shifts upward and it becomes S1, S1. Now what happens that at the same price, what you see that price now is OP1, which is determined by the original demand curve and the new supply curve intersecting at C. The tax here is AB per unit, the vertical distance between the two supply curves is AB, while the increase in price is PP1. What you see here that PP1 is greater than AB. So what does this tell you? That here the increase in price is still more than the tax imposed. So the seller gains too much, tax per unit is less, but he can increase the price by a larger amount. So here the burden is on the buyer, and that too more than the amount of the tax. So dear students, so in this lecture I have told you that whenever there are changes in the cost of production, whether it is fixed cost, whether it is variable cost, how it affects the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Generally, whenever the tax is imposed, price rises and the output in the industry decreases. In the short run, the number of firms may remain same in case of the variable cost, but the number of firms decreases when the increase in fixed cost is not covered by the price increase, so the number of firms may be less. And so far as the imposition of specific tax is concerned, we have seen that how this leads to rise in prices and how the burden is borne between the buyer and the seller. And you have seen that if the price elasticity of supply is greater, then the less burden is on the firm and more burden is on the buyer. So you can see in different cases what is the supply and what is the elasticity of demand, and you can find out whether the tax will lead to rise in price of the commodity or not. Thank you. Dear viewers, in this module, I am going to tell you about the equilibrium of a firm under monopoly in the short run. You know, monopoly is a market structure in which there is a single seller. There are no close substitutes for the commodity it produces, and there are strong barriers to entry. As there is a single firm, so firm itself is the industry. So the firm has control over the price and the output. Under perfect competition, price was determined in the industry by demand and supply, and a firm could sell any amount of the output it liked at the price determined by the industry. But here in monopoly, the monopolist has the choice to choose the price and output combination. So you can see here that the monopolist faces a downward sloping demand curve. It is shown in figure 1. DD is the demand curve. Price is shown on y-axis and quantity is shown on x-axis. If he wants to sell the OM units of output, the monopolist should keep the price OP, and if he keeps the price OP1, then he can sell only OG units of the output, and if he keeps the price OP2, he can sell more of the output. So the monopolist knows that if he wants to sell more, he will have to reduce the price, and if he wants to charge a high price, then he should produce less. So it is up to him which combination of output and price he decides, and he will see to it that he gets maximum profits. So he has to decide whether if he wants to sell more output or he wants to charge a very high price, and accordingly the decision will be taken by the monopolist. In the monopoly, AR curve is falling, and we have already told you that actually demand curve is the average revenue curve. When the demand curve is falling or average revenue curve is sloping downward, MR will be below it. So this implies that price will be greater than MR. Here you see that if we say the output is OM and price is OP or MK. So at this output you see here in the figure 2 that MG is the MR while price is MK. So here you find that price is greater than the marginal revenue. So why it is so? In case of perfect competition, price was equal to marginal revenue, AR was equal to MR. But in case of monopoly, AR is greater than the MR, or you can say MR is less than the price. Why it is so? We have already done the relationship between AR, MR and elasticity of demand. This relationship is MR is equal to AR into E minus 1 upon E, where E stands for price elasticity of demand, AR is equal to the price, MR is the marginal revenue. So what we find that MR is equal to price multiplied by E minus 1 upon E, or price is equal to MR into E upon E minus 1, and you can find out that E minus 1 upon E will be always less than unity. So MR will be less than the price, or price will be greater than the MR. So here you see that price and MR are not equal, price is greater than MR. Now we will see how the firm under monopoly achieves equilibrium in the short run. We have discussed so many times that short run is a period in which some factors are fixed, but output can be increased by making use of the variable factor to some extent. So in this case, there is always some fixed cost. So the firm can have supernormal profits, or it can have normal profits, or it can have losses in the short run. And equilibrium of the firm can be shown by two methods or by two approaches. One is the total revenue and total cost method, and the other is marginal revenue and marginal cost method. So we will do the short run equilibrium of the firm firstly by total revenue and total cost method. You know that total revenue is price multiplied by the quantity, and total cost is the total of fixed cost plus variable cost, and the firm will compare total revenue and total cost to reach at the equilibrium point. So firstly we are talking of the case of supernormal profits, and now we will see that in this case total revenue curve will be above the total cost curve, and total revenue, when it is greater than total cost, we have to find the equilibrium point. So the difference between TR and TC should be the greatest at the point of equilibrium, and this has been shown in figure 3. Now in figure 3 we have taken output on x-axis, cost and revenue are shown on y-axis. Total cost curve is not starting from 0, it is starting from above the origin from y-axis. You see here that TC curve is increasing upward, and actually firstly it is increasing at a decreasing rate, and afterwards it is increasing at a increasing rate because of the application of law of variable proportions in the short run. And the total revenue curve has started from origin and it goes on increasing at a decreasing rate. It becomes maximum, and after that it has started declining. Now we see that TR and TC are intersecting at point R. This is the break-even point. OM1 output is the break-even output, showing that before this output TC is greater than TR. There are losses to the firm, and at OM1 output there are neither profits nor losses. Now output greater than OM1 and to the range of OM2, what you see here that TR is rising and TR is greater than TC, but we want that this distance or the difference should be highest, and it is at output OM. Before this output profit is less, and after this output again profit is falling, and at OM2 output again the profits are 0. So only OM is the equilibrium output where the difference between total revenue and total cost is the highest. And how can we show that it is the highest difference here? So we draw tangents to TR and TC. Here TT is the tangent to TR and KK is the tangent to TC, and here they are parallel to each other, and where they are parallel, the difference between the two is the highest. So OM is the equilibrium output, and we have drawn here total profit curve, and actually this is showing the profit and loss. In the beginning you see that fixed cost is there and there is no revenue, so in the beginning there is a loss, and this loss goes on decreasing, and at OM1 profits are 0. After this, the distance, you have to see actually what is the difference between TR and TC, and you can put it here and find out what is the distance, and by joining all the points which show the difference between TR and TC, you get the total profit curve. Again at OM2 it is 0, and after this output total profit is negative or there are losses. So what you see here, that from M1 to M2 range the profits are positive and it is highest at point OM. So in this case we have seen that whenever total revenue is greater than total cost, there are supernormal profits. So actually you should know that normal profits are included in the total cost, and the firm is getting more than the total cost, so the firm is getting supernormal profits. So if you want to know what is the average revenue or price, how you can find out, you will see what is the total revenue and divide it by the units sold, and you can find out what is the average revenue. But it is not explicit in this diagram that what is the price. Now we will discuss about the case of normal profits. Firstly, you should know when there are normal profits, when the total revenue is equal to the total cost. This implies that the firm is getting normal profits. Just now I have told you that normal profits are always included in the total cost of production. So this has been shown in figure 4. On x-axis we have shown the output, on y-axis we have shown cost and revenue. Total revenue curve is starting from 0, it is rising at a decreasing rate, it is becoming maximum, and then it has started declining. Total cost is started from above the origin from y-axis, and it is increasing at a decreasing rate first, then it has started increasing at an increasing rate. So total cost is rising. So what you see here, that at output OM, TR and TC are equal. Here the tangent to TC and TR is the same. TR is equal to TC, so there are neither profits nor losses, or you can say there are normal profits for the firm because total revenue is equal to the total cost. And what more you find, that at all other points TC is greater than TR. So there are losses to the firm at all levels of output except OM. If you produce less, there are losses. If you produce more, again there are losses to the firm. So this equilibrium E is at the point where the firm is getting normal profits and this is also the break even point. Here again, if you want to know what is the price of the commodity chart, you will divide total revenue by the number of units produced and sold. Here ME is the total revenue and OM is the number of units sold. So you can find out what is the average revenue or what is the price per unit. Now the third case in short run can be of the minimum loss. Now firstly you should know that in the short run there can be loss also. Now there is fixed cost which is there, even the output is zero, it has to be borne by the firm. So supposing the demand conditions are such that the price is not covering the per unit average cost, or you can say the total revenue is not equal to the total cost, but it is less than that, there will be losses. The firm should at least cover the total variable cost. If the firm is having loss of the fixed cost, then firm will not stop producing or will not shut down. What it will go on producing? Why? Because even if it stops producing, it will have to bear the loss of fixed cost. So it is better to go on producing. So long as the firm is getting the total variable cost or more than that, but it is not covering the full total cost of production, the firm will be operating and it will be having minimum loss. So you can say that even the monopolist can have losses in the short run. If he is a monopolist, this does not imply that he will always be earning supernormal profits in the short run. He can have losses even. So this we have shown in figure 5. In figure 5, output is shown on x-axis and cost or revenue are shown on the y-axis. Now what do you see here? That again your TR is starting from origin and increasing at a decreasing rate, becoming maximum, and then it has started declining. And total cost curve, because it includes fixed cost, so it is starting from above the origin from y-axis and it goes on increasing at a decreasing rate and ultimately at an increasing rate. So you see here that at all levels of output, total cost is greater than total revenue. At all levels of output, there are losses to the firm. So when the firm finds there are losses, it will see to it that the losses are minimum. So how can we find out that the difference between TC and TR is the least? Again, we need to draw tangents to total revenue curve and total cost curve. And when they become parallel to each other, this will be the minimum or the least difference between total revenue and total cost. And this shows the output to be OM, where the difference between total cost and total revenue is the lowest. At all other points you find that losses will be greater. Losses are quite high and they are equal to the total of the fixed cost in the beginning when the output is 0, and as we go on increasing the output, the loss goes on decreasing and it is the least at OM level of output, and after this output again this goes on rising. So this shows that the firm is having minimum loss. So what you find that loss can be maximum up to when the firm is not getting a part of the fixed cost. But if it is getting something of the fixed cost, but it must cover the total variable cost. So that is the case of minimum loss. So till here we have seen that in the short run, even by the total revenue and by total cost method, how the firm or the industry, because it is the same, it can have supernormal profits, normal profits or losses. But in TR and TC method, you see that price and average cost are not explicit in the diagram. No doubt they can be calculated. So the other method, which is the marginal revenue and marginal cost method, that is more common to find out the equilibrium of the firm. Now we will see that with the help of MR and MC, or marginal revenue and marginal cost method. You know, marginal revenue is the addition made to total revenue by the sale of one more unit of output, and marginal cost is the addition in total cost by the production of one more unit of output. So the firm will compare marginal cost with marginal revenue. So far as marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, it will go on producing and reach at the point where both become equal to each other. So there are two conditions of equilibrium. One is marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, and the second one is that, which is a sufficient condition, that MC cuts MR from below. So until these two conditions are met, there will not be equilibrium of the firm. Now we will show this in the diagram, and firstly we are taking the case of supernormal profits. Now you should know that when we are making use of marginal revenue and marginal cost method, we see the difference between average revenue and average cost to find out what is the profit or loss to a firm. Equilibrium is seen by marginal revenue and marginal cost curves, and price and profits are to be seen by the use of average revenue and average cost. And you should know that supernormal profits will be there if average revenue is greater than the average cost. Again, why? The normal profits are included in the average cost. So if the firm is getting more than average cost, you can say that the firm is getting supernormal profits, and this is shown in figure 6. Here on x-axis we have shown the output, and on y-axis we are showing price, cost and revenue. Average revenue is falling and marginal revenue is below it. Average cost is of U shape. Marginal cost is also like U shape, and it is cutting average cost at its minimum point. And now you see where there is equilibrium. So at point E, you see that marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Then what you do? You draw this vertical line to find out what is the output produced. OM is the output. Now you see at this output, you take this line, vertical line above, to find out what is AC and what is AR. Where this vertical line is touching average cost, that will tell you what is the average cost of production. And where it is touching AR, that will tell you average revenue or price. So what you see here, at this output, OP is the price or MG is the price or AR, because price is equal to AR, and average cost is MH. So you look here that price or AR is greater than AC by GH per unit. So GH per unit or PQ per unit is the profit per unit, and the output produced and sold is OM. So the total profits are P, Q, H, G. These are the supernormal profits earned by the monopolist in the short run. Now we'll see what happens in the case of normal profits. So when the firm will be getting normal profits? When its average revenue is equal to the average cost of production, because the normal profits are covered in average cost of production. So this is shown in figure 7. Now on x-axis we have shown output, on y-axis we have shown price, cost and revenue. AR is declining and AR is actually the demand curve, and MR is below it. Average cost is of U shape, MC is cutting AC at its minimum. Now actually how to draw this diagram? Firstly you should draw this marginal cost, because equilibrium is where MC is equal to MR and MC is cutting MR from below at point E. Here you find out that OM is the equilibrium output, and from drawing this line vertical up to AR you will come to know what is the price, and price is OP or MH. And then you should draw the AC in such a way so that MC cuts it at the minimum point. So this is the way how to make this diagram, and you see here that price is OP and average cost is also OP. So the firm is getting only normal profits. Now we'll see the case of minimum loss to the firm. This has already been told to you that in the short run the firm can have losses up to the fixed cost of production, because if it stops producing, even then it will have to incur the fixed cost. So long as the firm is covering its total variable cost, it will go on producing. So we will see here that how the price is covering the average variable cost or more than that, but it is not covering the full average cost of production. So here this is shown in figure 8. In figure 8 we have shown output on x-axis, and on y-axis we have shown price, cost and revenue. Your AR or demand curve is sloping downward, MR is below it. In this we will show average cost as well as average variable cost. So this is average cost and AVC is below it, average variable cost, and then draw marginal cost, and it must pass through the minimum of both AVC as well as AC. AVC is the average variable cost of production and AC is the average total cost of production. Equilibrium is at E, where you see marginal cost and marginal revenue become equal to each other, and you see that the equilibrium output is OM, and from here you will take this vertical line above to see what is AR, what is AC and what is AVC. At OM level of output you see that price or AR is OP or MG and average cost is MH, or you can say here the losses are PQGH. No doubt the firm could suffer the losses up to HT per unit, which is the average fixed cost at this output, but the firm is covering the part of the fixed cost GT. So the loss here is minimum, and it is the difference between AC and AR. So, but the firm must cover the average variable cost. So, students, you must have seen that how the firm can have normal profits, supernormal profits, or even minimum losses in the short run. Thank you.
On that note, I would like to thank ma'am for this very enriching discussion, and thank you dear friends for watching our show. Stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you.